Yo, what's going on? I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this video where we do attorney reactions to current events and trending news. I'm Marcus, and hopefully you get some value, some entertainment, something out of this content. And if you do, I would ask that I know it's repetitive, but I would ask that you hit the like button, share, subscribe. It's a way to help support the channel, and it's free to do so. I'm a licensed attorney, not your attorney. Let's dive into the content. Now, let me lay the foundation real quick. I got to lay the foundation before we get into everything. And I got to give a shout out to my sis, Maui. Hey, I appreciate you for dropping the first comment of the day. As always, you are appreciated. So I want to give you a round of applause. Thank you for tuning in. Now, let me lay out the foundation, okay? Here's the foundation. Let's lay this out. Then we're going to jump into my notes, then the video. All right, let's lay the foundation. Okay. Everyone wants to find that special someone in life. Just imagine that you find that special someone, but it's a long distance relationship. It make it a little bit difficult, but it's not impossible. Now, let's say that long distance relationship is a little bit longer distance because that person is not just in a different city, but they're in a different state. Well, actually, let's say that person isn't in a different state, but they're in a state correctional facility after being found guilty of 4 gruesome, cold-blooded homicides. That is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about conjugal visits, why California is a little bit too liberal for me in some instances, and should this have happened? Does the family have any recourse? Can they sue the state? What's going on with this case? So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to dive in, watch the video first, and after we check out the video, we're going to go ahead and go through the notes as we dive into the story of Stephanie Dowles and David Brinson. And Stephanie Dowles is Stephanie Brinson, but also known as Stephanie Dowles. Let's go ahead and check out the video. Then we're going to dive into the reaction. Let's get it. We'll do it there.
Questions about a killer, a man sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, but allowed to have unsupervised family visits. And one of those visits, his wife ends up dead.
Your reporter Madison Keevy has the woman's family's plea to the prison make changes and give them answers.
Love their grandchildren more than anything. And that's what hurts the most, is because we got some that's about 3 years old. They don't know, what's going on. It's hard to explain that to them.
Stephanie Brinson wore many hats.
Immediately, the very first thing I thought of was 4 life sentences. Why is he allowed to do anything? I'm just saying. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but 4 life sentences, I'm going to just be honest. I don't give a damn how good of a prisoner you've been during your time in custody. I know that sounds a little wild, but hey, it is what it is.
Grandmother, mom, a volunteer who gave back to her community.
It really hurt. She was a very loving person to a fault. She didn't care what your past was. She saw the good in everybody.
Stephanie died during an overnight family visit at Mule Creek State Prison. She was there visiting her husband, David Brinson.
Now, the other question I had is, this is just me. I can tell from this video that her kids in this video are definitely not his kids, just by the nature of the conversation. But the other thing that I wanted to know that I couldn't seem to find, and I looked on various open source platforms, various news outlets, I was unable to find. But I would like to know, how long have they been married? When did they meet? And how long have they been having these unsupervised family visits, as they like to call them?
Sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole for killing 4 men in a Los Angeles robbery in 1994.
She liked this guy, and she
definitely not his kids. So we know that, and let's
trusted
just play
him.
it.
Unfortunately, it was her demise.
According to the Amador County Sheriff's and CDCR, at some point in the middle of the night during their November visit, Brinson called the prison staff to say Stephanie passed out. 2 weeks later, her family was told something seemed suspicious about the case.
Kind of suspected it was something weird going on because she was healthy.
Her children's fears realized. The Amador County coroner ruled it a homicide.
That's terrible. She a beautiful woman and family and grandkids and shit. This story is actually ridiculous.
Stephanie was strangled.
It's a very frustrating role because we know it was just him and her in the room, nobody else. No supervision, no phones. They take her phone, they take all her belongings. So what hope does she have to, her life is in his hands at that point.
Her children want answers. Why an inmate with a violent history was allowed to have unsupervised visits at all?
I agree. Don't care. California, your policy sucks. I agree 100% with that.
We took those questions to CDCR. They say protocol is that visits are determined by conduct while incarcerated, not convictions, unless an inmate has suspended privileges due to disciplinary actions, are on death row, or are convicted for sex offenses.
We just want answers. What could be done, and not even just for the sake of my mom, but for the future, for somebody else's mom, somebody else's wife.
Trying to make a change. There are no charges for Stephanie's death, and Brinson has not been named as a suspect. He has been moved, however, to a facility in Stockton.
No charges. Come on now. This is utterly ridiculous. Let's go ahead and dive into some of my notes we got here. So, okay. Here, Stephanie Brinson, the decedent, she died in November of 2024. Now, let's talk about Mr. Brinson, Mr. David Brinson. He's serving 4 consecutive life terms. He was convicted in 1994 and apparently, according to reports, narrowly missed being sentenced to death. Now, I know y'all was like, well, we know that he killed 4 people. Was it self-defense? Trust me, it was not self-defense. It was not anything other than what you would suspect from somebody who is involved in a story like this. All right. Long story short, Mr. Brinson, we're going to refer to him as, we'll just call him Mr. Brinson. He's technically not a defendant. He believed that an individual by the name of Marks was a high-level drug dealer. As such, he said, you know what? We're going to run up in Mr. Marks' spot. After ransacking the place and finding that there was no money, Mr. Brinson did probably what was the worst thing that he could do. He actually forced the men inside the home to lie down, and he shot each of them execution style. Now, this is the question. One, and I agree with this, why is he even allowed rights to have isolated, unsupervised visitation? Now, if you don't know the history of conjugal visits, let's do a little history lesson. This shit is ridiculous. What's going on, Lisa? I appreciate you tuning in. Hey, if y'all looking for some nice sound, legal, not illegal, nice sound, investing financial advice, y'all make sure to go check out Lisa J. Stocks. She actually knows what she's talking about. I never heard her say anything that is crazy, and I hear a lot of people who talk finances say crazy stuff. But she's actually a very good person to check out. So y'all make sure y'all check out her content. Now, again, the history of conjugal visits. Because once I was like, well, let's talk about this. Where did it start? Where most things start. We're going to go all the way back during slavery in the United States. Conjugal visits actually has its roots during slavery, where slave owners would allow their slaves to have unsupervised visits with their family, with their wives, because they believed that it made the slave population a little bit more compliant. They were less likely to have these uproars. So it's kind of a spinoff of that. In California, the same concept applies. Hey, if these guys exhibit good behavior, we'll allow them this one-on-one time with their family. I kind of like the federal prison approach. Federal prison, like, we don't give a damn what you did. You could be in here for DUI. you could be in here for multiple DUIs. You could be in here for homicide, for anything. Federal prison, there are absolutely no conjugal visits, I'm gonna be honest, is prison. I mean, like, how relaxing do we really need it to be? I don't want to sound like a jerk, but it it's kind of crazy. All right, now states are drawn. States make up their own laws, but the vast majority of the states do not have conjugal visits. So this is something that's being done by California. It's one of their more liberal policies. Now, you all let me know in the comments because me personally, I understand how a person's conjugal visit or family time should be based on their conduct in the prison. But I am of the belief if you're going to have them, there should be certain convictions that are absolute bar. That's just my take on it. Like if you have some like full homicides, full life sentences, like do we really trust you to have some reasonable expectation of privacy with guards aren't checking on you? It actually makes no sense. So what happened on November 13th, 2004 after 2 a.m.? After 2 a.m., Mr. Brinson used the phone and called the correctional officer saying that his wife passed out. Initially, they thought it was natural causes, but 4 months later, an autopsy determined that it was a homicide. Now, a little bit about the victim in this case. She was a hairstylist, a mother of two, a grandmother of six, and they actually took a look into the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. There is nothing that disqualifies you from a conviction standpoint of actually being afforded the right. Now, the question is, are there any cameras? Are there any correctional officers to check? There are correctional officers present. Correctional officers can check unannounced. But according to California's policy, the California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation's policy, they are on the side of granting the inmate some privacy. So they aren't doing checks every 15 minutes, 20 minutes. There are no cameras because they're of the belief that these inmates actually earn some reasonable expectation of privacy. I, we're going to talk about that because yeah, I got a take on that, but I don't want it to come off as like victim blaming or nothing like that. But we're going to talk about that. Okay. So guards are there, but they don't check in because the policy says we are on the side of not checking in. Now, question number one, how strict is security during a conjugal visit? We know that normal visitations in most prisons, you're either behind the class, and there's some state penitentiaries where you are actually one-on-one, actually able to talk to the person. So they may have a correctional officer in the vicinity where multiple visitations are going on. They may allow for a hug, initial embrace, but it's not all lovey-dovey. You can't do all of that touching stuff. But the expectation with the conjugal visitors in California, because it's kind of loosey-goosey, they want the inmates to have some privacy. Now, what is the status of background checks for visitors for family visits? Well, every visitor and who has to attend or is visiting someone in the California Department of Corrections, they have to go through a comprehensive background check. They have to disclose any issues that they had with law enforcement, even prior arrest. Now, here's the interesting thing. I wanted to know, how long did she know this person? How many visits was it? Was it the first visit? Was it the second visit? Even though I couldn't find an actual guideline that says, in order to have a conjugal visit, it has to be a spouse and you have to have been married for X amount of time. I wasn't able to find anything that specific, but I was able to see language and identify language that says you must know the person before you can actually visit them. So this leads me to believe that there is some wait time. So I couldn't be an inmate and I just meet some random woman like, hey, I like you, you like me. I do a lot of push-ups. Your boy kind of shredded. And then we get married and I get a conjugal visit immediately. That doesn't seem to be the way that it works from what I can read in open source. You have to have known the person for a significant amount of time. I don't know what they define significant as. I don't know if it's 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years, but they do state that you have to have known the person for some time. So that relationship has to be established. So we know this wasn't her first visit. They likely have had multiple family visits, conjugal visits before. Now, how common is it for violent offenders to get these visits? In California, like I said, it's kind of loosey goosey. If a person is a violent offender, but they are an upstanding inmate, no matter what their convictions are, they'll have access to these family visits, which is ridiculous, in my opinion. All right. Are there any security measures in the family units? Yes, their units are checked daily, but as I stated earlier, they aren't checked on a regular interval like 15, 20, or 30 minutes. There are no cameras. Now, this leads me to the question of no cameras, no regular interval or surprise pop-up visits. They just leave people in there for their 4 or 5 hour block, is what it sounds like. How long do you actually think it took for this crime to have occurred? This is a guy who clearly at some point in his past has a propensity for violence. This is a woman who is, I mean, just by the laws of nature, is probably smaller than him, probably weaker than him. We don't know, and they don't provide any facts as to how long she had been deceased for at the time that this happened. But I mean, to choke someone out, it takes, I mean, you can choke someone out in 10 seconds or less, maybe 7 seconds, depending on the person, their lung capacity. So I don't know how long this thing lasted. We don't know how long it occurred, how long she was deceased before he even actually hit the button. But with no type of security measures, it's an to me, it appears to be a situation that could be ripe for something crazy like this. Now, that poses the question of people who are in jail for life sentences, 4 consecutive life sentences. This is just me. I've normally seen two types of persons who have life sentences, multiple life sentences. There's only two types that I've seen. There might be a third that falls somewhere in between. But normally you have the lifer who doesn't give a damn because they have a sense of freedom because they're already there for life. So there's nothing that can be done to them in addition to them. They already got life. But you have the opposite. You have some people who's like, hey, even though I'm spending the rest of my life here, I'm going to take it upon myself to try to better myself, get education, try to mentor other persons and younger inmates who are actually going to get out here so they can do something productive with their life. You normally have people who fall on one side or the other of the coin. Because this guy actually had these privileges, it'll be interesting to see, but I'm probably assuming that he was probably what they will refer to as an upstanding prisoner, a model prisoner. Okay. Now, when it comes to these types of crimes in prison, is there an immediate assumption of foul play, or do they just do the investigation to see where the facts lead them? I'm going to be honest. I think it depends. I think it depends on who the individual is. We know in this story that they thought that it was just natural causes for 4 months until they finally got the autopsy results back. I think it depends on the individual. I'm just going to be candid. If I were this correctional officer and I got a call that my wife passed out, somebody come help her, and then when I come in there, she's not breathing, she's passed away. I'm immediately looking at the guy with 4 homicides convictions kind of sideways. Now, I do think this is a good point. Okay. I'm not saying I'm victim blaming or anything like that. Hey, we all want love. Everybody want to have somebody. But goddamn, like, I don't know. Like, my mother's a grown woman and she can do what she want to do. But I would, you can't stop a grown ass adult from doing what they want to do. But I would definitely let it be known to moms like, yo, what the hell are you doing going in there fucking with this guy? This guy is a sociopath. Now, I got some stories from my younger days where moms was dating somebody and I don't know, he could have been a good guy for all I know, but all I know is me and my brother didn't like him. I say that story for another day, but just know he didn't come back around and my mother didn't find out the reason until we were like grown talking about it at Thanksgiving. She was like, "Y'all did what?" But I, I'm sure they had this talk with her. I can't see. I don't know. Maybe they have different relationships, but me, I can't see a situation where somebody that I give a damn about, my mother, especially a woman, like if, like real talk, if my son is an adult and he want to go visit some woman in prison who's a jailbird, I'm gonna be like, bro, what are you doing? All right, son. And I would just keep it moving. But if it's like my mom's, my daughter, my cousin, female cousin, it, there's an inherent vulnerability that we see or men feel with the women that we care about. So I'm assuming that her children probably had the same conversation that I would have had with my mother. So I do think it's a terrible ass idea to. I'm not saying you can't date an inmate, okay? I'm not saying you can't date an inmate, but goddamn, 4 murders, 4 life sentences is kind of crazy. That's just me. I think that's kind of wild. What's going on, Todd? I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you tuning in. I didn't even know killers can do this. Yeah, they should not be allowed to. Most states do not have conjugal visits. California is one of those kind of off-brand, kind of one of them off-brand states that just allow for some things that don't seem to make sense. I think certain convictions should probably be an absolute bar, or in the alternative, even if you aren't going to make it an absolute bar based on a person's conviction. Like, damn, if I got 4 murders, y'all don't think y'all should give me some limited scope of family time? Maybe it's like some surveillance. Maybe it's no cheek clappage. Maybe it's anything. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of crazy. I don't see how anyone could get a conjugal visit with any conviction of violence. I agree. I think that's bottom line common sense. But I mean, we just did a story the other day where the mayor of Los Angeles was giving millions of dollars in tax funds to someone who the government alleged was running a racketeering business. So California, go figure. They kind of goofy. Yeah, she was a very beautiful woman. Very, you could tell that. I mean, just the way her family talks about her, that she was productive. It wasn't like she was like some hood girl or some hood ass older woman. I mean, she clearly loved this guy. She clearly loved this guy. There's no other reason that I'm telling you right now. As an adult, now as a child, you don't know. You go visit people in custody because you just kind of have to go. As an adult, I ain't visit nobody. You got to have a really good reason that you're in custody for me to come visit you as an adult. I'm like, wait, somebody did something to your kid and you ran him over with your car. I visit you and I put some money on your books. But if you there for something stupid, I don't care who you are. I'm just like, nah, bro. I see you when you get out. And if you don't get out, hey man, just call me. We could talk on the phone. But I'm not. I hate going to prisons. I hate going to prisons. I don't even like going when I had to go visit clients in there. Why the hell? I just don't want to go. I'm not going. That's just me. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not saying that, but 4 murders is kind of crazy. 4 murders, like at the same time, they all occurred at the same time. It wasn't like he killed somebody every 2 years. Like I'm not saying that would make it better, but yeah, like yeah, you can have a felony conviction for like a DUI. Does the DUI guy, girl, not deserve love? Probably so. But if you got 4 murders, I probably think it's probably not the best move. Yeah, it was crazy. All because he thought he was gonna rob him, and instead of just leaving, yeah, that was crazy. Looking up that story, that was actually wild. No sleepovers for you. I agree. They could have given, yeah, they could have given her one of those. I feel and can't. Yeah, I don't know. They e- even if they had a, they clearly had some type of panic button in there because he was able to call the guards. So even if she had a device, I mean, I'm just assuming if this is her husband, he could have been able to sweet talk her. Hey, girl, take that thing off your neck, set it over there. Come on, bring your little fine self over here. And she gonna just take it off and put it on and come on over. Then the next thing you know, some heinous shit is occurring. The craziest part though is why they didn't charge this dude yet. This is just me. I'm not a fucking rocket science, but let's just use our context clues. There are only two people in the cell, him and her. No guards are coming to check. He says that she passed out. 4 months go by. The autopsy said asphyxiation, strangulation. He's not been charged with this crime just yet. I don't know. To me, I think that's just as ridiculous as actually allowing him the right to have a conjugal visit in the first place. It makes absolutely no sense. Now, this is the question. Hold on, let me Google this to see if this is something because we got to talk about do they have any recourse against the state? And that's going to be interesting. Let me see. Okay, so here's the question you all have, right? That I have, and I don't know. Me and my son were having this like, how do you? Let's say he's charged as he probably should be, just based on the facts he has. But let's say that he's charged and he's convicted with his fifth murder of his, and this one of his wife. What is the punishment? California has no death penalty because of a moratorium on it that was put in place, I think, in 2016. So they don't have a death penalty. So what? Literally, there's no sanction. Just giving him a fifth life sentence, it, it absolutely does nothing. I don't know. How are you going to have a boom boom room in jail? If you wanted to, you couldn't because the fun parts are behind bars. You can at least go to Walgreens and get something a lot. Yeah. Hey, I agree. I'm just not a fan of conjugal visits. It's like it's prison. It's you're there for a reason. Okay, you can better yourself, but I don't think that the government should be supporting your cheek clappers time. The government don't support my cheek clappers time, so why should the government support your cheek clappers time? And I ain't commit no crimes. No, it depends on where you go. So most local jails, when you're in it, there's nobody in there checking on you. Generally, nobody in there checking on you. It's because you're an attorney. No one's going to be in the room because the conversation is protected by attorney-client privileges. So in most local jails I've been in, there normally is a glass. Now I've been in federal prisons because they vary, but I've been in federal prisons where there's just a table like this and the person is sitting on the other side of you. When they bring the person in the room, they have the person in handcuffs. I always ask them to take the handcuffs off. That's just me. Some people don't. Some people, it depends what they do. If you're my client, I'm going to say, hey, let's take the handcuffs off. Now, they do have law enforcement is not observing the room, but law enforcement is close by. So presumably you could get someone in there with ease, but I've never been a fan of having my client come in and talk to me sitting there with handcuffs on. Like, I don't know. I think it gives a bad vibe. I mean, I think it gives a bad look. I've represented hundreds of people as a defense attorney, and nobody ever uncuffed them. Like uncuff them. And then when the CO walks off, nobody tried to like jump across the table and choke me or nothing like that. I know women attorneys who are the same way. Like, no, unlock them, take the cuffs off. I want to have a conversation with my client. I think most people that I've seen, I think you kind of put them at ease when they do that. And I've had conversations with people who I mean, they ain't had full homicides, but they ain't had full murders, but they had some. But it depends where you go. Most federal prisons, they don't have a glass. They let you just sit down and actually have a conversation. It's up to you as the attorney if you want. Get out of here. This show not about you. Go. I'm almost done. But it's up to you if you want to have him cuffed or not. I think it's a bad look, personally. Mm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, most people though, like, very rarely do. I'm not saying disorder in the court. Defense attorneys don't get fucked up, but it very rarely happens. So, that I think it's just I don't want my client in handcuffs. That's just me. I just don't. I just don't want it like that. If I can't see you, I to me it gives the impression that I can't see you as a person. That would be like I wouldn't want my client to come next to me in trial in an orange jumpsuit. Like, no, on his trial date, we get him a suit, we put him in a suit, he sits next to me, he don't have handcuffs on. If you're gonna have to sit next to me without handcuffs on at trial in a suit, you need to be able to sit across from me without handcuffs on so that everybody see that, oh man, this person knows how to conduct themselves. I mean, is a risk. Oh man, I remember a defense attorney got his ass whipped too by a client coming from the jail. But he was kind of an older guy. I don't know. And it depends who they, but most times you don't hear a lot of stories of clients jacking up their attorneys. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I think it's very rare. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, this guy isn't charged. I don't even know why he's not charged. I think that's almost as worse as them actually allowing this to happen. So the question is, does the family have some legal recourse against the state of California? Well, two questions. Question number one, for a situation like this where this guy has full life sentences, if he is charged and convicted of this crime, he'll probably get a fifth. California has no death penalty. So are you guys cool with him just getting the fifth life sentence? Are you guys like, I don't know, we may want to revisit the death penalty type of thing on this case? Or is there some in between? I don't know. I just don't think a fifth life sentence is an actual punishment. And I don't know. I don't think a fifth life sentence would be a punishment if this guy is charged and actually convicted. So, and generally, I'm not a death penalty guy. I'm kind of like, I'm not really a death penalty guy generally. But these facts, I don't know if there's a real punishment that he's getting by just giving him another life sentence. The guy already had 4 life sentences, and y'all was letting him clap cheeks. He gonna get a fifth. What y'all gonna let him do? So I don't know. Y'all let me know y'all take on it. I'm generally not a death penalty guy, but in this situation, I'm like, the fifth life sentence, that's not gonna do shit. That's kind of my thought. Let's see. I agree. See, everybody's on board, man. If you've been in custody for that not a life or 4 life sentences. If you got 4 life sentences, maybe 1 life sentence, you might be deserving of some buns. But once you go to the second life sentence, all buns shall be immediately revoked and prohibited. It should be no, do not pass go, do not collect anything. I agree. But I don't know. I just don't think that with no I don't know how they punish this guy by giving him another life sentence. I don't know. To me, I don't think that's a punishment at all. Now, the question is, does the family have some legal recourse? Because, we always got to talk about some legal aspect. So I'm going to go ahead and just read these notes I got because it's kind of sloppy. All right. The federal government, every state has a torts claim act that allow individuals to sue the government for certain things. So I'm going to go through, we're going to read a little bit about and explain a little bit about the California Torts Claims Act. And then we're going to make an evaluation. Do they have a cause of action? Now, generally, government entities, government organizations have immunity for a lot of things, unless a statute expressly says you don't have immunity for this. So the California Torts Claims Act permits you to sue the state or local government in certain circumstances involving personal injury, property damage, or wrongful death. However, the procedures are very strict, and you usually have only 6 months to start the legal process. Step 1, you get counsel. Step 2, file a claim by the statute of limitations. Step 3, the government has 45 days to respond. Step 4, if your claim is approved, it can be settled. Step 5, if your claim is rejected, you can sue the government in court. What does the California Tort Claim Act do? Get down, dog, down. The act protects California government and its employees from being sued in most circumstances. This is called sovereign immunity, and its purpose is to keep government running without being bombarded with lawsuits all the time. The law extends to all part of the state government, such as state agencies, school district, state universities, individual counties and cities, and special districts such as transit authorities. When can you sue the government? This permits you to sue the government if you were injured by either the negligence of government employees or independent contractors, the government's failure to perform a legal duty, and or a hazardous condition on government property. Successful claims may result in compensatory damage for any bills, loss of income, damages, and pain and suffering. Now, do we think that this is a right claim for negligence? Was there a duty that the government had to perform? And we talked about the elements of negligence. Was there a duty that the government had to perform? Did they breach that duty? Because of that breach, was there damages? And was the breach the cause of the damages suffered? I'm just going to be honest. To me, I think that this is actually falls square within the category of. I think it falls square within the category of negligence. Personally, I don't know if I'm trying to think as a non-attorney. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the time when I went to prison or jail to visit somebody. It was only a handful of times when I was young. I don't recall any waiver being signed. Um, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't recall a waiver being signed for visitation. And even as I'm trying to think, when I was an attorney and people were being there doing visitation, I don't recall them signing waivers, and that was relatively recent. I don't recall people going to visit signing waivers. I don't recall. I don't remember. I don't remember anyone signing a waiver to actually visit someone. I don't know. So that's actually a good question. I'll look into that. All right. Then they have what are some examples? But I think this is I think you have a negligence argument that the prison had a duty to protect Miss Brinson during the course of this visit. There's a plausible argument that they breached or failed that duty. Was there damages? Yes, she's no longer here. Rest in peace. And was that breach their failure to properly supervise and have protective methods in place? Was that breach of duty the proximate cause, the actual cause of the death? Did it result in it? I think you got an argument there. All right. What are some examples? The California's Tort Claim Act would allow you to sue California government if you were injured in some of the following scenarios. The government was negligent by not maintaining a safety needs, such as roads, potholes, falling down in the courthouse stairs because there were no handrails. The government was liable under premise liability, and getting assaulted by an on-duty state worker who was mentally unstable. Those are some examples. I think this example, if I was going to squeeze it in somewhere, the government was negligent by not maintaining safety needs would probably be the argument that I would go to. When can I not sue the government? The California Tort Claims Act generally does not allow claims for any reason except those listed above. For example, you cannot sue the government for injuries caused by, now let's see if this is in here. Failure to pass a regulation, ordinance, or law, the California National Guard, failure to enforce a specific law, Any issuance failure, any permit, license, certificate, no. Any failure to inspect any property which the government itself does not own, any misrepresentation or reporting identifying information of convicted drug offenders to local schools. Nope. So I think this falls within the category that would probably allow the family to bring a cause of action for wrongful death. How do I sue under the California Tort Claims Act? We kind of went through that already. What is the statute of limitations to file a claim? It requires you to file a claim within 6 months of your injury, discovering your injury uh, in the cases that concerns personal injury, wrongful death, damage to property, or damage to crops. The time limit to bring a claim that relates to all other causes is within 1 year of the injury. They give you a year for breach of contract, damage to real property, those type of things. Once you file your claim, the public agency has 45 days to respond. The government may approve the claim in whole or in part and may make a compromise on the claim. If the government rejects your claim, you are free to file suit in state court against the government. Okay, so I think they actually have a cause of action. Let me see. I don't know. Did his four previous victims? There was no protection. I mean, nah. Yeah, yeah. It's an unlawful homicide. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is true. But I don't know. If you're convicted of a violent crime, you should not have any conjugal visits. I'm actually not opposed to inmates, period, not having them. But definitely, if you're convicted of a violent crime, you shouldn't have any family time, one on one time. Because to me, I can't, I think they open themselves up for liability when you put someone who has full murder convictions in a room with somebody. I don't give a damn if it's their wife, if there's their child. People are crazy as hell out here. That's just kind of my take on it. That's point number one. Point number two, I'm so confused why they haven't already filed an indictment. What other, they're still investigating. What the hell are they investigating? I mean, somebody strangled this woman and he's the only other person in the room. Come on, this is actually more incompetent than actually allowing the guy to have the fucking cheek clapping sessions in the first place, in my personal opinion. Issue number three, no death penalty in California. At worst, this guy will get another life sentence. Do you think that that is actually a satisfactory punishment if he's charged and convicted of this actual murder? What do you all think? I'm not a fan of the death penalty, but I'm damn sure not a fan of this. We got to pick our battles. I don't think a fifth life sentence does anything if this guy's charged and convicted. So I don't know. I'm not saying we go back to the code of Hammurabi where we cutting off people's limbs and stuff. All I'm saying is I don't think you get justice. I don't think the family gets justice if he's convicted and he gets a fifth life sentence. Like literally, you wasted taxpayers' dollars to have a trial to convict the guy of something, and his only sentence is the same thing that he's already done. So again, not a fan of the death penalty, but if I ever were going to be in favor of it, it would definitely be facts and circumstances like this that would make me say, let's talk about this. That's just my take. So would the death penalty be a more appropriate punishment or the fifth life sentence? I don't know. I'm not a fan of the death penalty, but I'm not a fan of this. We have to talk about it because if somebody said it, I'll be like, if he was convicted, I don't know what evidence he would have to prove or disprove that he didn't do this, like Casper the Friendly Ghost did it. So no. And the last thing is, does the family have recourse? It looks like the family may have a cause of action. Again, I'm not a California bar attorney, but the federal government, every state has a Tort Claims Act that allow citizens to bring litigation for damages against the state. one that we read that California had is actual negligence, wrongful death. Wrongful death is just another word for negligence that led to an actual death. So I think that they actually would have a cause of action. And I would just be, I would keep it honest with y'all. If I were representing the state in this instance, the minute that this case was filed, I don't need 45 days to respond. On these facts, I'm like, let's cut them a check. Let's just cut them a check. Let's get them to sign a non disclosure agreement. We don't want nobody talking about this, and we are going to revamp our policies. No more conjugal visits for anybody who has a violent felony conviction. That's what I would do. I don't even see what is the point of actually fighting this. Can you imagine putting this case in front of a jury? I mean, I think it's a loser of a case, personally. I don't think they're. It's interesting. I don't think they're running the clock out because I'm I'm not sure why they haven't already initiated the charges, but the family is actually in position where they can file their lawsuit now. Um, it's interesting. This happened in November. 4 months later, they recently found out that it was strangulation. If I were them, I would actually be talking to an attorney now because they only got 45 days to do it. 45 days from the date that they found out about the injury. So that wasn't on November 13th, 2024, when she passed away. That was currently when the autopsy came back to say that it wasn't natural causes that she was strangled. So if I were them, I would file my shit immediately. The state not indicting this guy, filing charges, isn't going to do anything for purposes of the California Torts Claim Act. And honestly, it doesn't do anything with any statute of limitations. I'm not sure what the statute of limitations for homicide is in California, but I'm assuming that there is no statute of limitations because I know that Keefe D got incarcerated for killing Tupac because he snitched on himself foolishly, and that was 30 years ago. He asserts that he was in the car and all his open snitching on social media. They charged him the same as the shooter. There's no murder statute of limitations on murder in most places. And I think that's a good example. I think that's the case. I believe I looked that up before, but yeah. Even if it is a statute of limitations, let's say Keefe D got arrested after 30 years, but I don't think it's a statute of limitations on murder in California. Yeah. I don't know. I don't need. I I do agree that there's probably absolutely no physical evidence, but I don't need any physical evidence in the room if the cause of death is strangulation and there's only two people in the room. So I agree with your point. When you have these physical crimes, physical evidence, you got normally about 2, 3 days max before physical evidence gets contaminated. But I think the circumstantial evidence in this case, because we don't have any direct evidence, nobody saw him do it. We don't got any video footage, but I think the circumstantial evidence is more than enough here to hang this dude out to dry. Mm. I see. That's why you like me. I'm generally not a death penalty guy, but in this unique situation, 4 life sentences, and he just picked up. Let's say hypothetically, he's charged and picked up a fifth life sentence for killing his wife. What's the punishment? The only punishment I see in that situation is to the taxpayers for paying for this legal procedure. I don't know. Like I don't know. That's a tough one. I would just be honest. Like under these facts, I'd be open to discussions. I just leave it at that. I would be open to discussions on these facts. No, no, no. All of them occurred in the one instance, and we talked about this in the beginning. But he went to uh, he went to a gentleman named Mark's house who he believed to be a high level drug dealer. And after ransacking the place and finding that there was no money, uh, he forced the men in the home to get down and he shot him in the head execution style, all simultaneously. So yeah, this guy was a terrible person. Should definitely don't need to be on the streets. Definitely don't need to be clapping any cheeks. So that's just me. Like, I mean, like, that's crazy that that dude actually like pulled this lady by. I mean, that's actually kind of crazy. It's actually crazy that he had the game. Like, I don't know. I can't even wrap my mind around why she appears to be a high functioning, high vibrational woman. I mean, everybody has issues. You love who you love, but I think it's crazy that he even pulled it off. Like that's to me, that's like how did this even happen? Like, was it a website? Like how did it even happen? I don't know. So many so many questions. I don't know. I got the report I got just talked about the persons in the home. I take a look and find out. But in any event, this guy, he really, really, really needs to be off the street. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I think the big takeaway is if this guy is charged, the only justice that the family could get is monetary justice by suing the state for a wrongful death claim with the California Torts Act, because they aren't going to get any justice against the potential defendant in this case if he's charged. Given a life sentence to somebody who got 4 life sentences is actually kind of ridiculous, and it doesn't do anything in my book. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hey, I'm about to get out of here. Tomorrow we're gonna do a throwback because we're gonna do a video that's solely about the super mayor Tiffany Henyard and her attorney who is representing her during the course of the federal investigation. And that attorney is also representing somebody else who is under the federal scrutiny. So we're going to talk a little bit about the conflict. Is there a conflict? If there is, who should the attorney choose to represent? Probably the person who's going to pay him. And who is the client who actually has the most leverage to make their position sweet with the federal government? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all have a good one. Be safe. Be blessed. Have a good night. Peace.